We live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth. A network of courage. A network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, ORRA the Informationalist.
Peace and greetings, people. This is ORRA the Informationalist, and you're now tuned in to the Network of Awareness podcast radio show. And for season 5, which is Great Understandings, we have another episode, another installment of the Narcissim Series. And I have none other than Mary Isreal joining me as a co-host on the Network of Awareness to discuss No More Benefits for the Doubts, Part 2. And as you know, if you don't know, Mary Isreal is the host and founder of the Resilient One podcast. And if you want to get some great information in regards to narcissistic abuse and narcissism overall, amongst other things when it comes to relationships, definitely check out the Resilient One on your favorite podcast listening platform. So, for great understandings, no more benefits of the doubts, people. Okay, so we're going to talk about boundary setting. We're going to talk about identifying red flags and ultimately knowing what works for you and what doesn't work for you and being disciplined to knowing that. So without further ado, let's give Mary Isreal the proper warm welcome like we always do for our guests. All right, brothers and sisters, we'll be right back.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
Tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo.
Okay, peace and greetings, people. Let's welcome to the show Mary Isreal from the Resilient One podcast. Peace, sister. How you doing?
Hey, Shalom. How you doing, ORRA?
Shalom. I'm doing pretty well. This is we're actually recording on my shows that are Testament Thursday, even though this won't be a Testament Thursday show, but we're recording on Testament Thursdays. And I feel like when we do these narcissism shows, you and I, we're giving some heavy duty testaments to our struggles, the adversity we gone through, and whatever doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So I always get excited about talking about narcissism because you've said this on your show. You said this to me off of line. I completely agree with you. You said they're everywhere. They're growing in numbers. It's like they're like the gremlins right now, where as soon as you spray some water on them, they're multiplying into another 5. So it's true though. I mean, let's just keep it real. I mean, they're everywhere. They really are. Right. It's not a joke. Like, this is some serious stuff. As you know, I have a show I already did for the Narcissism Series called No More Benefits of the Doubt. And I thought it would be a good show for you to be on, because the whole concept of no more benefits for the doubts is really to be able to not give people the benefit of the doubt when they don't deserve it, as well as being able to identify the red flags that when we come across them, that we just don't sugarcoat it, disregard it, and then just keep moving on with something that is already proving itself to be unhealthy. It's already proving itself that it's not going to really have any place in your life. So with that being said, have you ever given people benefits of the doubt and then wound up like regretting it and being like, damn, I should have been smarter instead of giving this person the benefit of the doubt when they didn't deserve that benefit?
Absolutely. Definitely. I have. Yeah. I mean, you live and you learn, right? But yeah, definitely.
When you can you give us a mental process? Because everybody has a different mental process in which they go about giving people the benefit of the doubts that they've given. I'll give you mine first, and then you can share yours. So that way you get a better understanding of what I'm asking. Is that when I gave the benefit of the doubt, let's say, for example, the first time in a past narcissistic relationship I was in, the first time I initially got gaslighted, it was a pretty intense experience. And it was very aggressive. It was very just like, rah, 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 rah. You know? And it somewhat traumatizes you. It shakes you. Like, it's just like, because you're experiencing this for the first time from somebody that has been just the most loveliest, perfect almost person towards you.
Right.
You never seen this type of hostility. So it really rocks you like it did to me. It confused me. And I remember the feeling that I had over me. It was a feeling of disgust, but I completely, like that moment that I felt that disgust, I was like, all right, let's get that out of our system. Don't look at this person in this manner. And I remember taking a deep breath and being calm and making sure that I didn't yell when normally I would. When somebody's coming at me like that, I had a tendency to be confrontational. But in this particular situation, I wasn't. I kind of just took it. And then I just kept it moving and hoping to the Most High that was just a quick episode, nothing big. Maybe I said something that I shouldn't have said. Maybe I just pissed her off in a way that I shouldn't have. And I started thinking like maybe I did something wrong. And I remember what I did was tell her that another woman contacted me that I do business with. And her jealousy just kicked in, and then it turned into gaslighting, and it turned into projecting her ill ways on me, like if I was doing something wrong. Almost like if I was cheating on her just by telling her this, which was insane at the time. But I kept it moving, prayed to the Most High that was just an incident, that it wasn't going to happen again. And obviously, you know, it always happens again. So can you recall, it doesn't have to be the first time you got gaslighted, but can you recall how you dealt with a situation where you gave that person a benefit of doubt and maybe you shouldn't have? Because I know looking back on it retrospectively, I should have been like, whoa, wait a second. Like, what are you doing right now? Like, let's talk about this. You really coming at me like this? You need to take a break, or maybe we shouldn't continue whatever this is, because you're not going to disrespect me like that. I can't be treated like this. And that's what I should have said, but I didn't.
Yeah. You know, and we don't think about that when we're going through those type of situations, because we want to meet these people eye to eye. And that typically doesn't happen in those situations. Like you said, the gaslighting starts, projection will start. So there was a time where, you know, I dealt with a, narcissistic family member. And that's probably one of the times where, you know, if you come from a narcissistic family, you'll typically give your family chance after chance after chance after chance, because they're family, you know, like they're your blood. You guys have history. So I can give personal experience of a time where I gave someone the benefit of the doubt. You know, I had to stay with the family member once I was placed by my ex-husband, and I knew deep down inside this is not a good idea. But, you know, she was very, very cordial with me, very loving, you know, made me stuff, it just made me a lot of stuff. So I'm like thinking, okay, you know, we're headed somewhere. Okay, she's healed maybe, and she's not beefing with me. And nope, you can't. Once you recognize someone is a narcissist and they betray you, they'll betray you over and over again. So I can personally say, the times I've given people benefit of doubt was definitely when it was my family. So getting involved with this certain family member, giving her the benefit of the doubt, it caused a lot of drama. So I fully believe if someone has shown you who they are, like Maya Angelou says, believe them. So yeah.
All right. I didn't know you stopped talking, but okay. Oh man, it's funny because I'm thinking you're still going to say something. So I give it like a little delay so that way I don't cut you off. All right.
No problem.
So when you look back on that though, how would you have handled that situation?
There was really no way to handle that situation correctly. I mean, other than not dealing with them, I always tell you, like, I just don't deal with these people. I ignore them. As soon as I recognize someone's toxic, I just leave them alone, So I guess what I could have did in that situation was create, boundaries in that situation, which I did. I definitely did. But a lot of times when you create boundaries with these type of people, they don't respect it, or they see it as a challenge, or they see it as you taking control away from them. So it was, for me in that situation, it was just a lose-lose, honestly,
Yeah.
But yeah.
But that's what you actually are doing. You are taking the control away from them because the control is not meant for them to have in the first place.
Right.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? It's just not. It's
Absolutely.
like, respect my boundaries. And you got to think about it like this. Like, if you can't respect simple boundaries, there's got to be a reason for that. What is your intentions? What is it? What's your end goal here? Because
Right.
I got a family member. I'm not going to mention who it is. It is a female that is very close to me. And, or she was, I should say, because my siblings, man, it's funny. I'm the youngest and I have a sibling that, she's something else. She's something else. And she, some people deem her or perceive her to be a black cloud when she comes through. And I can see why, because drama follows her. But I got to a point after a while that I had to just be straight up with her and be calm, but let her know, like, hey, we're not playing this game today or ever. And if you still want me to be in your life, you better respect me or keep it moving. And a lot of times it worked.
Yep, facts.
It worked, but the problem was, you know what she did? She started using my mom as the subject or topic of discussion. And I'm not the type of dude that I'm going to be bashing my mother, even though I know my mother's got some issues. But we're not going to be gossiping about mom and you telling me about all the things you don't like about our mother. And I'm just going to be like, yeah. I don't got time for that. Especially we're all adults. Like, I'm in my 40s. My siblings are in their 50s. So it's like, we still doing this? Like, I don't got time for that nonsense. But because I don't want to engage in that behavior, it's a problem because
absolutely
I'm not giving them that power to control the situation. It's a boundary. And the boundary is we're not going to be trashing mom. We're not going to be talking nonsense about our mother.
Right.
Especially when you want to bring up something that happened to you when you were 7. like, come on.
And the thing about narcs is that they hold on to childhood trauma like nobody else. And sometimes when they tell you these little sob stories, it's sometimes it's fake, They
embellish.
Yeah, they'll hold on. Yeah, they'll hold on to that one trauma or maybe a few and just utilize that as their victimhood story. So yeah, it's not easy dealing with a narcissistic family at all. So yeah, when it came down to giving people the benefit of the doubt, I'll say, definitely it would be, family members. So at one point, but not, boundaries is in full effect, right? So
yeah, I joke around saying this, but I'm a boundary mother effer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really am these days. I thought that I was really good at knowing what's good for me and what's not good for me. But now I really know what doesn't work for me because now I don't question the spirit no more. Once
absolutely
the Most High is letting me know, hey, I just showed you something. What you going to do with it?
Yeah.
You going to give it the benefit of the doubt? Or because is it making you feel good? Now, the Most High speaks to me through experience. So it's like Most High puts me in situations where it's like, now it's like, does that feel good? That's what the Most High is revealing to me. Does that feel good? And of course, my response would be, no, It doesn't. And then that's when I go into like, we can't give this a benefit of the doubt. This is a red flag to let you know that this person can only have a limited amount of your energy. They can't get any more, the extra dose of it. This is how high they can go on the meter. And if you could discipline yourself like I've been doing now, I think it's going to be a really good next year for me. Like 2023, I feel like it's going to be a beautiful year because of the way I've learned how to set boundaries towards the end of this year and how important it is moving forward. So I'm looking forward to 2023 because I feel like it's going to be a revolutionary experience for me as far as spiritually and mentally and physically as well, but especially mentally when it comes to my emotions and how I deal with them and not just allow somebody to ransack me emotionally to where I let them because I didn't set no boundaries.
Right. So can I go over like one of the first steps, like if somebody wanted to set boundaries or?
Let's do it because it's very important that people know these different ways to set boundaries. So let's start with number one.
Okay. So I would say like you got to know where to draw the line with them, correct? So when we give people the benefit of the doubt, right, they're typically doing something over and over and over and over again. So at a certain time, you have to like detach. I think in our first episode, I was talking about how you got to recognize and educate yourself on what you're dealing with when you're dealing with these type of people. And when we keep giving people the benefit of the doubt over and over and over again, there's no line that we draw. There's no stopping them. So they're going to continually bully us, gaslight us, lie to us, be rude towards us, just do all kinds of bad behavior. And when we just deal with them without drawing the line, like we need to tell them, hey, I don't like this behavior. I don't like the way you're talking to me. I don't like the way you are trying to make me feel. I don't like your rudeness. I drawing the line, letting them know like, hey, I don't like this. You got to understand, like when we draw those lines, it's got to be a continual thing until they're out of our lives. Because when you first draw that line with them, like, hey, I don't like to be talked to that way, they're going to retaliate against you because they take your first step to boundaries as, like I said, a challenge or a loss of power and control. So you need to understand, like, when we're setting boundaries with them, you have to know it's a full-time thing. You can't let up on it. So the first step is just letting them know, like, I don't like this behavior that you're doing. And typically the ones I've ran into, some of them change their behavior for a short period of time, but there's a quick turnaround of revenge on me. Or if I'm right, I was right, but like, right. So like, okay, so I'm right? And what they'll typically do, because I was right in this situation, they'll go back and think about it, and they don't like to be wrong. So they'll like you said about your family member, they'll take something that happened to them at 7 years old and bring it up like it just happened yesterday. So sometimes what I've noticed with people who I draw the line with and I say, hey, I don't like this behavior, sometimes the very next day they remember something I did 3 weeks ago. So understand that there is a trap that you get into when you first put these boundaries in places. They will try to turn you into a person that needs boundaries set on themselves too. Don't listen to that. I had someone do that to me and it was very confusing because I'm like, wait a minute, you're talking about something very inappropriate and now you're bringing up something that happened 3 weeks ago. Like, why didn't you bring it up to me now? That's manipulation. Because I'm a firm believer, if there's something wrong and it's something very wrong, I'm not going to sit around and sit on it. That's a snake person. If someone did you dirty, why are you going to sit around and wait and then strike and say, oh, you did this to me? No, I'm going to tell you right then and there, you did something I didn't like. That's called drawing the line. That's letting them know, like, hey, I don't like your behavior. We can fix this, or you can figure out where you need to go. So I
have a question about that because I had I had situations like that come about in the past. And sometimes I'll take a 24-hour break from letting the person know, because I feel like if I let them know on the spot, which normally I would, I'm pretty straightforward, but sometimes I'm more cognizant now and aware that maybe just take a good 12 to 24-hour break to reassess. So that way when I do present it to them, I do it in a calm manner. Because sometimes you'll present something to them on the spot and it may come out too aggressive for them. And
absolutely,
then they get their feelings hurt and it just turns into something even worse. But this is a question I have for you before we go into the second one. Do you think that it's important that when we're getting to know people, especially if we're dating or, getting to know somebody in a romantic way or looking to get to know them in a romantic way? Because I think that everybody should be faithful friends to each other first. Like the show I did with Aquarai about according to scriptures what a faithful friend is. Do you think it's important that we be aware of how they operate in their normal life? And what I mean by that, like pay close attention to how they deal with their work. If you get to see a little bit of that, how they deal with their friends, how they deal with life and society. Because I think that a lot of times when you start to look into that with the person that you're dealing with, you be like, okay, I'm noticing that this person acts a certain way with a lot of other people. It's not just me. Or for example, somebody who gets irritated a lot with you, but then you realize that they get irritated with a lot of people. It's not just you. And that to me could be like, oh, okay, that's a telltale sign that maybe that's not a good situation for me. So I was wondering what you think about that.
Well, statistically, the only people who truly know a narcissist or a psychopath are the people closest to them. So the only way you can really truly observe them is how they are around people who are deemed less than. So there's always that saying like, watch how somebody you're on a date with, how they treat, the restaurant staff. That could be a big indicator that you're dealing with someone who's not right. How do they treat people who are, deemed less? Like, how are they treating the homeless? How are they treating the mentally ill? How are they treating elderly? How are they treating children? But again, they're chameleons. So, and they know like they're an actor or actress. So they know they got to be on at all times. So they might treat children and the elderly very well, but go home and, start whooping on their wife's butt or, cheat on their husband or just be a foul person at home. They take their pain out on the closest ones to them. So personally, in my own observation dealing with these people is when I'm in a restaurant, how do they treat the staff? And even some of them treat the staff well, but there's still just a little smugness to them because they always think they're better than the Walmart worker or the Amazon worker or, someone who does blue collar work. They think they're better than them, even if they do the same type of job. So just watch out how they treat the small people. But you won't, on the outside, you won't know because a lot of the most powerful people are considered, statistically psychopaths, narcissists, like lawyers, judges, police officers. And those people are ideally very professional. So watching them and their conduct from the outside looking in, you might not really see anything. It's just typically we have to watch them when they're around us, right?
Right. So what's number two?
Number two. So number two is, I think we spoke about this a lot, but it's very important when you're creating boundaries, again, to know what you're dealing with. And we talked about having an exit plan. So, knowing that you're dealing with someone who is toxic, who will never care about you, never love you, has no empathy for you, wants you dead, you got to figure out a way to get rid of them. But in between that time, like you said, like I was saying, the boundary part, I believe in just creating boundaries is also like being kind of boring to them. I talked to you yesterday about like gray rocking them. So when you're around them, you want to be like as boring as possible. Because one thing is they will always try to provoke you depending on their mood. So what does gray walking look like? So to say like, the narcissist is poking at you, teasing you, and you've already stated like, I don't like you saying this to me. And they know if they say this to you, it's going to cause you to either cry, get upset, or, become down. One way to start your boundaries is to, again, recognize and educate yourself what you're dealing with and learn gray rock methods. So when they come around you and they start trying to press your buttons, just ignore them. But I will tell you, like, I did this I practiced so much on these people when I was dealing with them. But when I would practice gray rock on my ex-husband, he literally like turned his head side to side and he went and sat down and figured out a way to get at me again. So understand, like I said, when you are creating boundaries with these people, it's a challenge to them. So when you go gray rock, they're not going to take you ignoring them. And it's not even about ignoring them. It's just not giving them the attention they want, because these people are attention seekers. And you got to learn, like when they are pressing your buttons, not to give them that attention. So that's a way to create boundaries. Like, let's say, go ahead.
No, if you want to give an example, please do.
Yeah. This if someone's provoking you and like you set your first boundaries, like, hey, I don't like the way you're doing this. Or let's say the boundaries is a bill being paid on time. They haven't done that. Whatever they're doing, just don't give attention. If you're dealing with a narc that is controlling you through money, learn how to, through your way of gray rocking, being unbothered, build your own money, build your own stuff, behind their back, and don't let them know.
Can we talk about that? Because I think you brought up a good point when it comes to money. Based on my research, right? Because you and I are not psychotherapists. We're not professionals, but we are professionals in the sense that we've slept with the enemy. We know what it's like to sleep and wake up to this enemy that is looking to destroy. So that gives you a great education. But can you talk about how people get caught up in that situation with money? Because it happens with men and women. Sometimes it'll happen with a young, attractive man. Let's say the man is in his late 20s, early 30s, and he gets himself a MILF that's like in her early 50s, but she's well off. She's made money, or she got money through a death or whatever. She got a big endowment or a trust fund, whatever it may be. That woman is going to be very controlling with the situation because she's financing the relationship. And usually what they'll do is they'll gift bomb you. They'll just make sure that you got everything, Oh, well, you want that? You want that clothes? Let me go buy it for you. Because they're using that as a weapon to form against you. Same thing with the men. They'll use their money to control the woman to where if she's not careful, that woman won't be able to do anything when she wants to leave, because everything that she has, that man is in control of financially. To her cell phone, credit cards, her car. I mean, everything, right? So my question to you is, for the listeners that may not know or might be dealing with something like this, how can they set a boundary to make sure that they don't fall into that trap, that financial trap?
Well, okay. So I can give it from, say, like a marriage perspective, right? You're married, as a woman of faith, I'm supposed to be submissive, right? So I personally met some women who were very submissive to their husbands, cooked, clean, took care of the kids, everything was perfect. But if they needed a pair of socks, they had to call their husband up and get a pair of socks. And I just thought that was kind of weird to me, because I'm like, it's a pair of socks. So that is, to me, a setup for the future for that woman. If she doesn't have her own savings, if she doesn't have some form of investments, if she don't have money for her kids saved up, if she don't got just a stash of something saved up, when you put yourself in a predicament where you are fully dependent on someone without a backup, that's a bad situation to be in. So how to set boundaries is, making sure, again, this is just my own personal opinion, don't make sure your money doesn't cross with the narcissist. Like, you cannot cross money with these people. You cannot build a home with these people, because eventually they're going to get bored. They're going to want to leave. They're going to want to cheat. They're going to want to go find the grass is greener on the other side. So while you are being a great wife and being submissive and asking your husband for a pair of socks, he might be plotting to leave you, and you don't got no money, nothing saved up. So never, ever give your financial self away towards anybody. Like, never do that. I'm a full believer in keeping your own accounts, having joint accounts for specific things, but my account going into the narcissist account or vice versa is not going to happen. So you might be with a narcissist like I was, who paid for everything. And that might sound good to be at home. I was an at-home wife, but I was basically a homemaker. It might sound good, but if you don't have a backup plan, it can leave you in a very bad situation. So for a man, first of all, honestly, no man should be living off a woman. So he's already, in my opinion, out of order, unless it's his wife and, he got sick. And, but if he's living off of a woman, he's going to get what he's going to get, because it's, the Most High tells us that he doesn't respect the infidel. So he can't take care of his home and he needs a woman to take care of him. He might get himself a wicked woman. So, but let's say we're dealing with somebody, a guy who is just out there having fun or meeting people, and he meets a older narcissistic woman who is, amen. I'm not for that lifestyle, but if someone does that, you got to have self-respect. Are you worth being bought? That's what a guy, I've never really dealt with someone really dealing with that type of situation, but
I've dealt with it several times. I never went along with it, but it was offered to me on a blue plate platter. Right.
So, hey, there are women out there who don't mind taking care of their men. They got the money. Statistically, they say women make more money sometimes in certain businesses than men. And there are a lot of women out there, not a lot, but there's some women out there who, the only way they can maybe get a man is to pay for him, possibly. Again, like, I never really met any woman that has done that, or older woman. So, but if you're like a teenager and you're in a narcissistic family, your mom and your father or whoever your parent is a narcissist, those are the people I feel the worst for, because when you're a child in that situation and you're dependent on an abusive, narcissistic parent, what can you do? And, I've met people whose parents stopped them from driving so they can be dependent on their parent, even, or stopped them from getting their first job and made them take care of their brothers and sisters. And, you think, okay, I'm being responsible, I'm being a good sibling, but no, sometimes parents will set their kids up financially to be financially ruined as they get older, because they don't install those correct things to move on in life. So if I was a teenager, it's a very difficult situation. I've known kids who ran away from home when you're dealing with that. I would get a hold of a teacher, a guidance counselor, someone you trust, and let them know what you're going through. Because when I was growing up in an abusive home, I think about all the adults who saw the red flags but didn't acknowledge it. But then some of those who acknowledged it, I was too scared to tell them about what was going on. And so if you are a child that's in that in a bad environment with your parent, you definitely want to reach out and tell another adult. But how can a child create a boundary like that? That's it. You have to tell on your parents. And I don't know. Okay.
No, go ahead. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Just telling on your parents. I know that doesn't really, it's a first step to boundaries if you're dealing with a narcissistic or toxic parent, is letting people know and educating yourself on that and finding a way to get out of that home. Because like I said, when we're dealing with these type of people, they don't mean us any good, So you want to figure out a way to leave. Like I've known of people who left their house when they're 17, 18 years old or even younger, just to get away from their parents. And they have a very decent life afterwards. You just have to set those first boundaries up by, telling and educating yourself.
Wow, very interesting. Okay, so now that's the second boundary. What would be a third boundary when in boundary setting?
The third boundary setting. So a third boundary setting that I definitely do is, I said letting them know what they're doing. And then, all right. So the third boundary setting is, do not defend yourself. I think, we get into a situation where we end up defending ourselves because we have somebody around us who is constantly accusing us of things, lying on us, taking advantage of our kindness, and does not respect our boundaries. So what happens when you're around a combative person like that? You end up over-explaining yourself, and it's just a waste of time because these people are very calculated. They know what they're doing. So a boundary that I personally have learned after going through a situation was just no need to defend sometimes. There's no need to go in defending yourself and explaining yourself. These people know what they're doing. So not becoming defensive is a great boundary to develop when you're dealing with anybody, but especially a toxic or abusive or narcissistic person. Because I'll say this again, they live for our reaction. They live for our energy. And if we learn how to just say, hey, this is who they are, this is their problem, this has nothing to do with me, and step aside. And honestly, like I told you, I smile at these people when they get very upset, and it makes them more upset, but that's a way, one, to kind of get them off of me and just to keep my situation light. Because if I get too caught up in hearing them lie on my name and the things that I told you what I've been through, and if I got defensive about those things, it could have got me into a lot of trouble. So I've learned just to step back and just observe and let people do what they do. Once I've told you what I don't like and you keep doing it over and over again, okay, now you're showing me who you are. You're showing me how you feel about me. And yeah, so just not being defensive. And it takes a lot of work to learn not to be defensive about what people say and do to you. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of brain power. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, like, if you have a hard time not just being quiet and just letting people think what they think, you might have to check your ego. You're going to have to check your pride. Because a lot of times when people are doing things just to provoke us, it's about us. So it's not about them necessarily sometimes. So what I mean by it's about us is they know what they're doing. They're trying to get us to respond. So instead of us responding the way they want us to respond in silence, I'm a big component on ignoring people and acting like they don't exist. So you gotta master that when you want to defend yourself.
I agree, because that can be a trap for the narc to constantly get you upset and then use your frustration against you as
absolutely
you the one that's abusing them. I see it a lot too on YouTube where you see the manipulation play out where the narc is filming the one that's being abused by them, but they start filming when the other person loses their mind, when they just had enough. And I've been in those situations. I've been in that situation with my ex where, I had breaking points where it was just like enough is enough. And then as soon as I get upset, as soon as I raise my voice, it was like, oh, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm in fear. I'm in fear for my life. And then she would go and tell other people that I'm this bad person. And I'm like, did you tell them what you've been doing to me for the past 3 months?
Let's not even talk about like when they, take the cameras out. There's one person.
I'll give you another one. Not even when the cameras are out, but when you are being filmed and recorded and not even aware of it, where they do it stealth.
Right. Keeping, the phone in their pocket, asking you specific questions so they can send it to, people who are in your business because, by the time them boundaries, I'm telling you, once you set boundaries with them, they will try to provoke. And if they can't provoke you, you're going gray rock, you're ignoring them. Yeah, man, they're going to keep going. That's why you have to understand, you got to leave these people alone. Their goal is to either leave as a victim or leave as a victim. That's it. So, you're setting boundaries with these people and you're starting to notice you're getting, they're starting to cause a lot of arguments, or this is a lot more arguments going on. They're being more contentious than lately. Is that the word? Yeah. yeah. So, they will do things like you said, get you upset and now they're saying you're yelling at me, or, they'll bring out a camera, before they pull out the camera, they're calling you all names in the book, psychologically messing with you, trying to break you down. And then also you finally say, all right, that's enough. And they're bringing out the camera, man. So that's why, again, learning not to be defensive when you're around these people, because when you're with a narc, everything you say will be used against you.
That's right.
Everything, good or bad. Okay. So I learned not to use too many words with them. And even if they're accusing me of something, I would tell them one time that, you got it wrong. But if they want to continue arguing, I'll just detach from the conversation because I know what I heard and I know what it's about. So just even getting involved with their, word salads that they love to do to people, or just all those mind games, just leave them alone. I'm telling you.
Yes. And it's something I'm so grateful that I learned how to do, because what I'm realizing when it comes to the narc, the best response is no response.
Absolutely.
And the best way to deal with them is to not deal with them. And that's what it always winds up. At the end of the day, no matter what you go through with them, it's never going to work out. Like, you could probably have a functional relationship with a narc, but that functional relationship means that you're going to have to compromise a hell of a lot in order to even have it.
In order to have a functional relationship with a narcissist, you would definitely just have to be a doormat. You would have to agree to every little thing, every abuse they do. You just basically be a meat bag. There's no working. And even then, when you're a meat bag and they can do whatever they want, they're still going to hate you. So there's nothing you can do. There's like you say, you're gone. You got to be a zombie around them. There's no peace for them. And when you're around the wicked, you're not going to have the peace either. So,
Very true. Now, with that being said, sister, great job as usual. I think we covered the meat and potatoes of no more benefits of the doubts and why. And you made up you came with some great points about setting boundaries. So in regards to no more benefits of the doubts and what we've discussed, what are your final comments in regards to this topic of discussion when it comes to narcissism?
Just know that when you're dealing with a narc, it's not you. You're dealing with someone who has, in my opinion, has legions of spirits in them. You're dealing with the spiritual war. So just always remember to step back and look at your situation. Try to give yourself a hug and also just forgive yourself. And boundaries are great to have with not just narcissists, but in life,
That's right.
So just practicing just simple boundaries, telling people what you do not like it can get you a lot of peace of mind. So yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you again. People, if you want to listen to Mary Isreal's podcast, it's called The Resilient One. We'll have a link in the description box that you can listen to on your favorite podcasting platform. Definitely show her support on either Apple, Spotify. She's also on iHeartRadio and many other stations. So I hope that this episode has given y'all great substance in regards to narcissism. It's something that I can honestly say that I'm very passionate about these days, considering the type of year that I had. But one thing I will tell you, brothers and sisters, even though we're focusing on narcissism, believe that there is a lot of good things that can come out of this if you can learn from it and move on. Because I truly believe that a lot of times that the Most High puts us through these trials and tribulations so that when we get something meaningful, we can truly appreciate it and see all the beauty and the light in it, because we've done seen the darkness and we know what the darkness is. So if we can't appreciate the light after experiencing the darkness, it's only our fault. Don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness. And when you live in the present, there is always an opportunity for a new beginning, especially when you give your praise and service for and to the Most High. So all praises to the Most High. Peace and blessings. Shalom and barakatah.